Hey, everybody, welcome back to Shift Change, staying in the game at 50 plus. Today's guest is Kevin Sylvester, former Buffalo Sabres broadcaster who spent 11 years with the organization before making the move into golf with the PGA Tour. Kevin's also someone I've spent some time on the golf course with, so I know and understand firsthand how real the passion is for golf. Kevin, great to have you on.
Rich, it's great to be with you. I'm flattered you wanted me on the show, but it's also a great excuse to spend some time with you because I miss you, man. I miss you.
I know. I know. Well, we weren't around this year for the Waste Management Open, so we didn't get to see you. So that was kind of a bummer. How is the mood around Buffalo today? Oh, you're not in Buffalo though, are you? You're
Well,
down in Florida.
yeah. I left really really early in the morning to fly down to the PGA Tour live studios, 6 a.m. flight. So it was. I will say this: still plenty of Sabre gear, at the airport. Which is it's funny because all I'd see is Bills gear traveling. Really up until like March. Then everybody started wearing Sabres gear, breaking that out or going to buy it. So kind of
Yeah.
refreshing to see. And as I tweeted out, I still call tweets, even though Musk
Yeah.
named it X.
X.
Um, After game two, when they lost, I said, "Don't panic, don't panic. This was never going to be a sweep against the Bruins." And then they went and won two more, and I still wouldn't panic. I mean, they won a grinder of a game, as you know, Rich. That's the ebb and flow of a series. So it's a series now for sure.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, I have no doubt they are still the better team. There's no question about it. You can tell there's some inexperience. I think they got a little hemmed in their end last night. I think Boston came out flying and put a lot of pressure on our D, but I thought the D were incredible in the offensive zone last night. They were actually driving the offense. But I'm not worried. I think they can close it out in Boston. Um, I mean, I think I heard Lindy Ruff say, we're a better road team because the guys aren't at home worrying about tickets for family and the kids got to
Yes.
come and where are the wives going to go. There's a lot involved. And I mean, you've been around it, right? So I'm hoping that that's what's going to be. They're going to close it out in Boston.
1,000%. You ask any, you corner them, right? Not record it. You'd ask any player, coach that ready to start the playoffs on the road. They get away, right? They're just focused on that.
Yeah.
At home there's
Yeah.
just so many distractions, distractions, but just the daily life, right? Those things. It's like when the last time they played the Bruins in the regular season. It was the only game for whatever reason I could make. Usually, you bring my son and some buddies for his birthday every year. His birthday's in January. The only game I could make was the 28th of March. I was like, ah, and I said, hey, going into it, don't expect them to win tonight. They get a point in overtime. It'll be a win because first game after a West Coast road trip, it's always the worst because the guys have been gone for a week. They come home. They got to catch up on family stuff. You've got the clock issue of losing time. They've got mail to go through. I'm just telling you, like, it's just a terrible game all the time. I also thought they were
Yeah.
tired because, especially the centerman, when losing Oslin, that impacted the game shifts wise, and I thought it certainly played itself out late in the game.
Absolutely. And I don't think the fans realize, Kev, what those players go through when you come off a road trip or when you got to come back home. I mean, we deal with families every day. They'd have to come home and deal with their family that they haven't seen in a week or a week and a
Yes.
half. So yeah, it's different, definitely different, but I'm confident. I think they're going to close it out. I think they're the better team. So that's where I'm at with that. So, but Kev, I want to start with going back to your roots, kind of like where are you from? Where did you get your start? Like, where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? When did broadcasting first become something you even thought about?
Well, it's interesting. I'm originally a Western New Yorker, born in Fredonia, and that's where my mom grew up. But I didn't grow up in Fredonia. We're there for probably a year. Then we're in West Seneca, and then I moved to Waterloo, New York, in the Finger Lakes, and that's where I grew up. a couple hours east of Buffalo, between Rochester and Syracuse. I grew up there and was just a sports junkie in my youth. I played everything and realized I was not going to be a professional athlete. And so I decided I wanted to be an announcer. So I would record on a VHS the weekend, like the sports highlights, just to rewatch them, on the
Yeah, yeah.
newscast. And then I started. I asked the local radio station who would do our football games, like, "Hey, can I sit down at some basketball games?" Um, and just come see what it's doing when our team's not playing. And I said, sure. And then I decided to go to college at Fredonia. Oddly enough, I didn't really thought about it. I used to just go there in the summers all the time. Bills had training camp there, and my uncle would take me
That's
to
right.
training camp. And we were talking about schools, and Syracuse, obviously, that's the premier broadcast school, but that was out for financial reasons. I was Ithaca. I wanted to go to Ithaca. That's like the number two school in New York State for broadcasting. Great school, and I was going to play football there actually. So there was interest to play football there. So even with playing football, little grant money, hey, we're going to give you a job. It was just still the financial commitment just wasn't able to pull. Or able to pull. My uncle says, "Why don't you go to Fredonia's got a communication program?" And I was like, "Really?" And, it's like, "Yeah." So I went and checked it out, with my dad, and my dad was like, This looks like you could have." It was between going to, Buffalo State, Oswego, or Fredonia. I was gonna play football at Buff State, and, my dad's like, "It seems to me from touring and asking everybody questions, like, you'll be able to do a lot of things at the campus media right away as a freshman at Fredonia." So he's like, "If I were you, I'd go there." And I'm like, "Yeah, um, Division III football would have been cool, but where was it going, right?" So
Right.
I was gonna go to Fredonia. I was supposed to play baseball there. But I caught mono right before. I almost didn't even start my
Oh,
freshman. Uh, and
wow.
so because I couldn't play, I got involved with the radio station right away as a freshman and started calling basketball games as a freshman. Matter of fact, this is a true story. I walk in to the radio station on campus the very first day, right? Said, "Hey, I'm Kevin. I'm a communication major. I want to do sports on the radio." And the news director, it was all the upperclassmen. She says, "Great, you're on tonight. Newscast at 5." I go,
Oh,
"Excuse me?" "Yeah." I'm like, "I've never done any of
wow.
that." Right? She's like, "Well,
Yeah.
you got a couple hours to figure it out." I was like, "Oh, okay." And it was, so we did, me and a couple other guys did basketball games. There was a senior who did hockey games. And Rich, I didn't grow up following hockey too much. I didn't have cable. I lived in the country. I knew who Wayne Gretzky was. I used to go, in the village. My one buddies, they had cable, so we used to watch the Stanley Cup Finals. But I didn't follow a whole lot. I'd listen about the Amerks on the radio, a little bit. So I didn't know a ton. And the first hockey game I saw in person was when I was a freshman in college. And yeah, it was, and I thought it was great. Actually, it was awesome. Matter of fact, the very first game that I called in hockey, I was a sophomore? Yeah, I was a sophomore, and this guy, Mike Thornton, he was awesome. We called him Iron Mike. He was awesome. He called the games. He came to, those of us are sophomores, and, I mean, this could have been, whatever, freshman or sophomore, doesn't matter the year, right? It was early on, and he says, "Hey, guys," this is me and, my buddy Dave DiBrienza, Dave. He's like, "I can't do the game Saturday. I gotta take my girlfriend to the semi for me. You guys wanna do the game?" Now, doing the hockey games was, a pretty big deal because they were on FM, basketball was on AM, even though, and so anyway, we're like, "Sure." We didn't know we had no idea what we were doing broadcasting hockey. So this is what I did. I went to the coach's office, Coach Meredith, who's still there today. And I introduced myself and I said, "Listen, I'm Kevin Sylvester. I was one of the guys who filled in for Mike last night on the broadcast, and I'd like to think I know what I was doing, but I didn't because there's so many things in the game I didn't know. I go, do you guys have time to teach me the basics? And they were awesome, right? I mean, they could have been just like, get the hell out of here, kid, right?
Yeah, right, right.
A-
Yep.
And they're like, well, the season's almost over. Are you going to be doing the games next year? I go, I'd love to. Like, it was great. And they said, okay, here's what you're going to do. This is Coach Dickinson here, and he was in the office, Brian Dickinson, who went on to become the first head coach at Buff State and coach at Brockport. And he says, after the games, you ride with us on the bus, all right? Go on the road games, come and sit next to us on the bus, and Coach D will handle most of it, and I'll join in with some other stuff, and we'll go over. So that's how I
And you're
learned
like
the game.
18 at this point, right? Or 19?
I was 19 years old. Yep,
Yeah,
19
19,
years old.
right.
And so, I also, I'd pick some people's brains, and I'd talk to my classmates who were players and ask him things. And then started watching a ton of hockey, and it was awesome, man. They went to the Frozen Four 2 years in a row. It was just incredible. Great to my junior and senior year. We lost in the national championship game my senior year, in Division III to Middlebury. It was an incredible game. And yes, it was 1-0, a rebound in the third period with 3 minutes to go. Anyways,
Gosh.
so
Yeah, that's
that's
awesome.
yeah. So I did all that stuff in college, and
Yeah.
I figured I was going to I just send out resume tapes and take a job wherever. I'd interned. This is perhaps the best. I love telling this story when I speak to college students and young people. So, and if this is the longest answer in the history of your podcast, Rich, I apologize, but sorry.
That's okay. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, like people all right, what's a big moment? How you make things happen, right? Well, I knew I needed to get, so I'd go back. My parents were divorced. My dad was in Buffalo. My mom was still back in Waterloo, and I'd go back and work the summer job to make the few $1,000. It was my lift for college. And my dad says, "Listen, I think you need to get an internship." I know some people in media in Buffalo, and they say you better get an internship. It's crucial. So if you get an internship between your junior and senior year, you can live with me, and I'll pay your freight. I'll pay the couple thousand I had to kick in, at least how we worked it. I was like, okay. So Ray Marks, God rest his soul, he's a news director at WGR Radio in Buffalo, came and spoke at a class. And I went up to him after the class, and I said, hey, Mr. Marks, he's like, oh, call me Ray. And I said, well, I was wondering if I could shadow Pete Weber, all right? The great voice now of the National
Nashville
Predators, right?
Predators. Right. Yep.
Legend,
Yep.
right? I said, I was wondering if I could shadow Pete at a Bisons game. He was calling AAA baseball, Buffalo Bisons.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I think he'd be great. Here, why don't you, call the station and, on Monday, whatever day it was, and arrange it. So I got a hold of him, and, Pete invited me to a game. It was like a Sunday, it'd be the beginning of the season because I was still in school. So it was April, a Sunday. I go, and he and Darian Chapman, who also unfortunately is no longer with us on the planet, they're doing the games, and I'm just sitting there watching what's going on. And afterwards, I said, Pete, I'd love to intern for you, right? So I figured I'd make it the direct ask, and he says, well, you know what? We have a fella at the station who handles that. His name's Brian Dickman, and you have to call him, Kevin, but would love to have you, right? So the next day, the Monday, I call him. So this had to be early April because this is how the story goes. So I call him on Monday, get voicemail. I call him on nobody used email then, Rich. Still at
Yeah,
that
right.
point,
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
kind of new. Call him on Tuesday, I get voicemail. Call him Wednesday. Call him Thursday. Call him 5 days in a row. Get his voicemail. My friends are like, this dude's not calling you back, man. It's not happening. Rich, how many times do you think I called Brian Dickman?
15.
Double it and add 1.
Oh
31
my
times.
goodness.
And there's
Wow.
31 business days. I left 31 voicemails for Brian Dickman,
Okay.
and
Yep.
I would get creative. I did it as play-by-play sometimes, like, "And Kevin Sylvester is calling again for Brian Dickman." I was like,
Oh boy.
I just wanted an answer, right? Day 32, all right? And I called different times. I mean, I tried everything. Day 32, this is the God's honest truth. Day 32, um, you know, I ring him up and I hear hello, and I was like, yeah, is this Brian Dickman? He's like, yes, it is. I go, hey, Brian, this is Kevin Sylvester. It's like, oh, Kevin, got all your voicemails. Didn't call you back because I had somebody, but today's your lucky day. The person who's going to do the job just called me this morning, just about an hour ago, and said that he can no longer do it because of his summer work obligation. So you're the guy. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
goodness.
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
And everybody's like, wow, you were lucky. I'm like, well, was I? Maybe. So I interned. Uh, so this was, I mean, we talking about an internship. I go in to see him. Literally the next day, I drove up to go see him and sign paperwork and what have you. And I'm like, so what am I going to do? And he's like, well, this is what you're going to do. You're going to go to all the Bison's home games, and whatever Pete and Darian need, that's what you're going to do for the broadcast. That's
Okay.
all you got to do.
Yeah.
I said, what about during the
Now at this
day?
time,
He's like,
are they the
oh, go
voice
ahead.
of the Bisons, the Bills, and the Sabres at this time? Okay.
That is, yes, they were the voice of
Okay.
all three.
Okay.
And they're like, whatever. I said, what about during the day? And what about when they're on the road? It's like, you don't have to do anything. I said, well, can I come in? And he's like, well, as long as you're not in the way. And so I would go in every day, just kind of see what the shows were going on. And one night I go to the game, and the assistant program director, did the DJing, but he also ran, like, they had all these stations, and one was an automated station, but yet they had to have a board operator. And he goes, hey, Kevin, come here. And I'm like, yeah, what's up, Bernsey? He's like, I need you to go to the station and run the board. We're going to pay you. And I go, really? He goes, yeah, everybody says you can do it because you've been in the station checking stuff out. So you got to get over there right now. And we'll figure out the pay later. I was like, okay. So I went back, and then they offered me a job, part-time job. I was going to my senior year to come back on the weekends. And I said, no, I can't believe it. I turned it down. Um,
Wow.
yeah, I turned it down. I said, listen, it's gonna be my senior year at college. I want to be a senior in college, and our hockey team's great. I call the games, and that's on the weekends, and I'm not going to give that up. So my friends thought I was nuts, and I just was like, I just didn't want to do it. And it turned out to be fine anyways, because a month before I graduated, they offered me the same gig, where, hey, you're gonna anchor sports middays into noon, fill in on the board and reporting wherever we need you. So,
Wow.
and I started the first day out of college. I just jumped right in. I actually thought I was starting the next day. I was late for my first day because I thought I'd start a day later. Mark Stout, who was
Boom.
yeah, I don't know if you remember Mark Stout
Yeah.
was, right?
Mark
You know,
Stowe. Yeah, I remember that guy. Yeah.
he was a big deal. So he would
Yep.
anchor. He did mornings on a 97 Rock and anchored sports, and he did both. He's on the Bills broadcasts, and I walk, and I'm an over an hour late, so he had to stay. I walk, and he throws scripts at me. He's like, "Here you go, Rook." That
Oh,
was my first.
geez.
So,
Oh
anyways,
my
that was
gosh.
a long answer to how it all got started, Rich.
Yeah, yeah. So GR was your first literal college job. When did the Sabres, how did it get to the Sabres, or what was the
Oh,
next transition there?
okay. So, well, I worked at GR from 95 to 97. I got hired by BEN. I got the same company bought the stations. When Empire Sports Network started up,
Yes. Yep.
Howard Simon went to Empire Sports Network, and BEN needed a sports director in essence. And I had John Murphy recommended me actually, and I only knew Murph from covering the Bills, like so.
Voice of the Bills, right?
Yeah, but like I would just talk to those guys in media day on the Bills and stuff, and they'd see me hanging around. I was a Bills beat guy for GR. Like I started out anchoring sports, whatever, and then I transitioned to through attrition. Like, hey, you're the Bills beat guy. This was my first year out of college, which is pretty awesome. I started covering training camp. I went from just graduated to hanging out in Fredonia again, covering the Bills. So, anyways, and it was the Bills radio network. WBEN actually had the Bills, not GR.
Yes. That's
Um,
right. Yep.
so I went and worked on that for a year. Uh, in '97, it was awesome. I did pregame, halftime. I sat next to Van and Murph on the team plane. I spotted for Van on games. I convinced him, like, Van, I could be your spotter and do my duties. It was
So
incredible.
you're just sitting there with a pair of binoculars
I had his
looking for
charts.
things, right, for him? Yeah.
Oh, Van had a whole system. Yeah, I'm going to back up. So he had a chart, and he'd be like, all right, Kevin, this would be, point to this guy for a catch, this guy for a tackle, this guy's a key block. So I'd be doing all this stuff, sitting right below Van and Murph during the game. It was absolutely incredible. What an experience. And I was at BEN from '97 to 2000. GR went all sports, so I went back to GR, but I left. I left after a few months. I got hired in Charlotte and at WBT Radio as their sports director, cover the Panthers, anchor morning sports, and work on the Charlotte Hornets radio network in the NBA. So I did that for 2 years. And then I got lured back to Buffalo by GR to do mornings. So
Okay.
I did mornings. The morning show was originally me and Bulldog, and then they switched things up when the coach left, and Bulldog went to afternoons. And it, we got veered in a direction of talking politics, and there was a new PD that just we did not click. It was going in the wrong direction. It wasn't working. And I would argue with them about, hey, people just want to hear us talk sports. That's what works in Buffalo. They had a consultant and all this stuff. So I- they canned me in 2004, a month before our second child was born. My wife was, not, she's a stay-at-home mom. And I got a call that day when I was like devastated. First person to call me. Now, I had a couple of talks with the Sabres about coming and doing TV. They were in a lockout. Well, not, I'll still do radio and TV. And first call I get was Darcy Regier, like when the news broke that, I got canned along with the other co-hosts.
The
It
general
was Darcy.
manager, right?
Yeah, general
Yep.
manager at the time. And he just said, "Hey, Kevin, I want to keep the conversation private because it's one that I cherish. It was really
Yep.
a meaningful
Yep.
conversation. But at the end of it, this is the only thing I will share. He said, I know some folks of the team are talking to you, and you might hear from some of them later." And sure enough, Larry Quinn, the managing partner, called me, and he's like, we want to hire you. Oh, um, don't not take something if it interests you, but when this lockup's done, we're going to hire you. I was like, okay, that's awesome. So I was a stay-at-home dad because my wife went back to substitute teaching, especially after 6 weeks after our son. I can't believe she did this. 6 weeks after our son Alex was born, she's going to work every day. So I was Mr. Mom, man. And
Yeah.
for my
Yeah.
2.5-year-old daughter and newborn son, I'm going to play groups. I like to think I invented the backpack diaper bag because I used
Yeah.
to, and I did that until it was in April. The Sabres are like, listen, there's no season this year, but there will be one next year. Let's bring you in now, get you acclimated. And so that's when I got hired by the Sabres. So that would be
Okay.
spring of 2005.
What was the first job with the Sabres?
Well, so I had 2 different jobs, actually. Um, so I was brought on. I was a director of amateur athletics for the arena. So I handled amateur sports. So NCAA tournament, um, that fell under me. So I'd have to get a basketball game every year. World Junior Championship, that was my
Yep.
baby, the first one.
Always huge in
So
Buffalo.
it was huge. It was unbelievable. Um, but I coordinated our bid process, co-wrote the bid with a colleague, John. We entertained the USA guys in their visit. I was, yeah, whatever. I'll toot my horn. I was pretty instrumental in helping get that to Buffalo, as was the guarantee by Tom Calisano of the money
Yeah,
USA Hockey was
exactly.
gonna
Was
get.
that
Uh, Go
was
ahead.
that the first World Juniors that came to Buffalo?
Yes, yeah, first World Juniors,
It was the
yes.
first. Okay.
Yeah.
Is that the one
It
the
was
Russians
awesome.
won?
Russia won it, that's correct, yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Um,
And I think a bunch of the guys on that Russian team were killed in that plane crash in Russia, KHL players.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
There
They
were a
they
few of
beat
them, yeah.
Canada on a big comeback, right?
Yeah, it's funny, New Year's Eve, Canada was playing Sweden, I believe. And one of the things I helped coordinate it was we give out, MVP awards for each game and coordinating, who's going to come and do it. Well, I had Lindy lined up New Year's Eve. And so I'm escorting Lindy down to the penalty box. We'd go down to the stands of the penalty box to go onto the ice. Well, the whole audience, the crowd's all Canadians. And I'm walking Lindy down. And man, I'm telling you, it was like the Pope was coming down. Everybody's standing up, Lindy, Lindy, like going crazy for him,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah. Yeah.
we get in the penalty box, and the game goes to a shootout. And Lindy Ruff turns to me and says, "Kevin, isn't this awesome? Like, this is awesome." And I'm thinking, this is Lindy Ruff, who's coaching the Stanley Cup Finals, and he's
Yeah.
just the appreciation for it. So, um,
Yeah.
so I did
Yeah.
that. I did that, and then, and then the TV part. Like it was like once the lockout's over, you're going to be the television host, and we're going to go from there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I wanna talk more Lindy, but that's a little bit later because I know you have
Sure.
some great Lindy stories, and I got to spend some time with Lindy in a coaching clinic in Windsor one time, but you get to the Sabres, you know,
I'm just
how
grabbing a
did you
water,
get to the
Rich. Hang on.
play-by-play? Yeah, go ahead.
All right, here we go.
How did you
Sorry.
get to the play-by-play part? Like, that's the coolest part. Like, yeah, you set up the World Juniors, that's cool, right? I mean, that's pretty awesome because now the World Juniors come back, like, every couple of years to Buffalo.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
how do you get upstairs? Rick Jeanneret's, like, a legend, the voice, the radio voice, right? Like, he's a legend.
Yes.
How do you get upstairs with him?
Well, so here's the beginning of it. Um, so I'd always been doing college games, Canisius games, Niagara games for even while I was doing Sabres. If the nights fit, I'd still go and do
Yep.
some
Yeah.
for time was Time Warner, whatever. And so Rick's contract was up. This would have been I want to get the years right here, Rich. So oh 05, oh 06, oh 07. I want to say going into oh 07, oh 08. So I had an office, right up by management, man. Like my office was right across from Larry Quinn's office, the managing
Yep.
partner. It was
Yep.
very small office. Like when I tell you, I knew most everything going on. I did. Like it was great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So somehow my office became the hangout spot, and then like for the executives,
Yeah.
where we're sitting in there, we're shooting the bull about whatever, and Larry walks by and sees us in there, a couple people, and he's like, "Well, I just got Rick's new contract done. We got 2 years to find his replacement." And I go, "Well, you're looking at him,
Jeez.
Larry." I said, "No, Rich." I go, "You're looking at him." And he's like, "What?" I go, "Yeah, I'll do it. I'll do it." And he's like,
Now, this is
"Yeah."
the same guy as a 10 or 12-year-old that went into radio stations and said, "Hey, I'd love to be on your radio." So that never stopped with you. You still kept going after jobs.
Well, sometimes you gotta take your shot, right?
Yeah, that's
Anyway,
right.
I said, I'll do it." And everybody chuckled, huh? So a week goes by, right? So this was in, fall of 2007, so, like, December, and, it might have been shortly after, and it's like a week goes by, it's a Friday night. Now, if you remember, the games used to be 8 p.m. starts on Friday.
Yep,
Brutal. I mean, just
yep.
we were there all day. And it was after the game, and we used to do an hour-long post-game show too, so it'll be 11 PM, we're off the air, and, I'm walking up to the office, and Larry walks by, and goes, "Oh, hey, I'm giving Rick the, Arizona-Dallas trip off, you're calling those games." I'm like, "Okay." You're gonna practice, you're not gonna screw it up, right?" "Yeah, no, it's, great." So, I'm but I'm like, "Holy smokes," like, all right, I'm gonna get to do 2 games here, is giving Rick the, a break during the season. And, so Mike Robitaille, God bless him, I was talking to him about it, at the next game, and I said, "Hey, Roby, we got a versus game coming up." That used to be the network, that used
The
to
network,
carry it,
yeah.
NBC or whatever. I said, "Hey."
And Kevin, Robitaille did Sabres games in the late '80s, early '90s, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let
Yeah,
me tell you
yeah, he
something.
did, okay.
Yeah. No, he did. Um, so I said, "Mike, we got 2 home games that are gonna be on national TV. Um, I'm gonna do the games, practice the games in an extra booth. Would you be my color man?" He goes, "Absolutely, I will." So, Roby, he didn't have any duties, so he came to the games and was my color man, for a couple of games, which was awesome for him to do. So it comes time for the trip. We go on the trip, and so the very first game is I'm doing the game with the great Jim Lorenz, right, Lorenzo, and it comes time to do the game, and I am nervous as all hell. I'm like, all right, listen, you're gonna do an NHL game. There are people who would kill to do one game, right? This is gonna be your first game. It was on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, in Arizona, and I gotta like, I'm nervous as all hell. And we get in the booth, and this is kind of a cool, cool moment. I'm nervous. I look at the whole booth to my left. I look over and I see my college friend who played at Fredonia, Craig Conley, sitting there, and we look at each other and we come out. I go, "Craiger, what are you doing?" He's like, "Oh, I do stats for uh, uh, Stri- um, Strader and Pang. They were the Arizona team at the time." And I said, "Oh, I'm doing my first game, man. I get so awesome to see here." He's like, "Well, do you know Strader and Pang?" I said, "I think I've talked to Panger a few times." "Ah, come on, and I'll introduce them when they get up there." They were great. Dave Strader, God rest his soul, was encouraging to me throughout the 5 years I filled in for Rick. Uh, that guy's awesome. God rest his soul. He was so great. So I do the game, and I'm sure I was terrible. Like, it was like one of those just get through the game, like, okay, it happened. Like, I know I was better at the Dallas game. Um, so I did those 2. And then the following year, it was kind of like, all right, we're going to have a little competition, so you're going to do some games. Dan Dunleavy's going to do some games. Mark Jenneret's going to do some games, and we're going to have this guy Steve Coolius do a game, right? So like all these, way what you should do, right? I mean, you should audition and what have you. And so through that process, Larry told me, "It's like, hey, you're the guy. Like, we want you to do it." Um, competition's good. So I did it for the next couple of years, it might have been 5 games, 7 games, whatever. And then, the Pagulas bought the team. And going into the 2012 season, they're scaling back Rick's schedule. And they were said, "All right, we're going to find somebody." I had to submit a tape, all these things still.
Re-audition, like, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is like, okay, re-audition. And I was chosen. So I had a 27 game schedule. They're like, "Hey, how would you feel about working with Danny Gare as your color analyst?" I said, "I think you should ask Danny Gare how he feels working with me. I mean, this
Yeah,
guy
right.
just saved me
Yeah,
lunch."
right. Right.
So, um, I got chosen to do that, and they said, unlike the past, before when I did the games, I did everything. I did pregame,
Yep.
intermissions, did the games.
Yep.
It's like, we're gonna just let you, we'll bring in someone to do that job, and you'll call the games. I said, okay. So, and we did the games. It seemed like most every game we did just sucked. I mean, the only cool game, great game I remember was the Happy Drew Year game when Drew Stafford had the hat trick on New Year's
Oh,
Day
yeah. Yeah.
in Buffalo.
Yeah.
Um, maybe that, and we had a good game in Nashville. My son was actually, it was kind of funny. My youngest was watching Sabre highlights in the car, and he hears me saying, "Take that, Tutu," or whatever.
Yeah.
Brian Miller had a fight with Jordan Tutu. And he goes, "Dad, is that you?" Because he was too young. I go, "Yeah, that was me." He's like, "Oh, I didn't know you announced for the Sabres. I just thought you worked for them." I'm like, "No, I announced for 'em."
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Were there any games that were memorable? Like you said, you remember the Drew Stafford, hat trick on New Year's Eve or New Year's Day. Like, were there any, like, guys that scored their first NHL goal, or was there any big games that you
Um,
remember?
I remember. So, people ask me that all the time. It sounds terrible, Rich,
Oh,
but
do they?
it's
Okay.
yeah. No, like, no, I remember the Drew Stafford game. The Happy Drew Year game, the game in Nashville, for a couple of reasons. Because of Jordan Tutu and Ryan Miller getting into it. But also I got to call the game. Pete Weber's calling the game for Nashville. I'm calling the game there. We took a
That's
photo
right.
before the game, you know,
Yeah.
um, intern, getting to call a game next to the master is pretty cool. Um, Trying to think of other ones that,
It always seems
sadly,
like Buffalo brings a rookie up, and he always scores in his
yeah.
first game in Buffalo. I don't know
Well,
why, but
I do remember Gerby scoring an overtime winner. It might have been a shootout winner in New Jersey to break. Like, we had this losing skid, and someone said, "Man, you sounded like way too excited for a shootout winner." I said, "God, we sucked. We were
yeah.
we sucked that year." I said, "Nah, you don't understand. Like, I got to ride with the team here. I was excited to get on a happy plane, for crying out loud."
Yeah.
Um,
Was Lindy the coach? Was Lindy the coach that
oh yeah,
year?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Lindy
So it
was,
was not fun around that
oh no,
arena.
no.
No, no.
Um,
And we'll get into
yeah,
Lindy
no,
stuff. We'll get into Lindy stuff later.
yeah, no, I remember it more, Rich, as like getting to call a game at Joe Louis Arena. Although Sabres sucked in that game. Miller got chased in the first period, gave up 3. His brother set up the third goal. Oh God, who scored? Somebody was on the fourth line. I forget. I just remember Drew Miller made the awesome pass, and I'm like, Drew Miller over to so and so. He scores. Oh brother, it's 3-0. Like, I was like, that's a
Oh,
pretty good call. But
yeah,
for
yeah,
the
yeah,
other way,
yeah,
getting to do a game there, doing a game at Madison Square Garden.
yeah.
And by the way, that booth at the time before the renovation, so be Harry, Neal, and me, and there's a camera, and then Micheletti's over there with Sam
Yeah.
Rosen doing the game, and then intermissions we'll be sitting
Oh,
there eating
yeah.
hot dogs and shooting the bull. Like, that's the
Yeah.
stuff I remember. Or
Yeah.
even when I
Yeah.
was doing the hosting on the glass, El Troutwig coming over and introducing himself to me, and I'm
Yeah.
like, "I
Yeah.
know who you are, Mr.
So
Troutwig." Like,
you
stuff
got to
like
work
that.
with Harry Neal, and if anybody doesn't know who Harry Neal is, he's a legendary Hockey Night in Canada guy that Buffalo hired to come over, and he was color, right? He was a color guy?
Yes, legendary Hockey Night in Canada analyst. Finished his
Yeah.
career as a Sabres analyst.
Yeah, and he's still
And
alive, I think.
Yeah, he was the best. Let me tell you, he was awesome.
Yeah.
I loved
Him and
Harry.
Rick were good together, weren't they?
Yes, yeah, they were good. Harry was just, oh my, he was funny. He knew everybody. I mean, like, so I think about this. I'm like, my God, I got to call games with Harry Neal as my analyst.
Yeah.
Like, are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
Yeah.
Um, he was
And on the
he
other
was
end, you
great.
also got to work with Rob Ray.
Yes,
So
but
there's
also good.
2 spectrums there. Yeah.
Um, you know what? He is raised. So I I want to say when we first started, Razor's probably like, who the hell is this guy? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and I think I earned his respect and got along. There was one game afterwards, like he did something on the show, and I kind of you know challenged him on it, and was wondering, oh God, is this the right thing to do?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it all worked out. I mean, what an incredible career he's had doing that.
Yeah. Right.
And
Yep.
he always said he's only going to work till he's 50. I know he's past 50.
Yeah. He's past 50. So being you got to travel with the team, right? I mean, you live that NHL schedule, correct?
Yes, yeah,
Which
it was a grind, man. Because even when you're home, you
yeah.
weren't home. You know.
Yeah.
Now that being said, it's not like we're not waiting in airports. You know what I mean? Like we're
Yeah.
traveling on all the seats are first class, staying at the Ritz, each city. Um, yeah, it was great. It was a lifestyle that you got accustomed
Yeah.
to,
Yeah.
but I mean,
Yeah.
there was a lot of sacrifices at home, and I still remember this, and this is how long ago this was, Rich. Atlanta. We're doing a rehearsal in the ice side for the open of the show. We do those often down by the Zamboni or whatever. Cell phone rings. I see it's my home number, and this is before the iPhone. And so I just tell my producer, I said, "Hey, hang on a second, I need to take this." And I answer it. It's my daughter. "Hey, Daddy." I'm like, "Oh, hey, what's up, Liv?" And she's like, "I made my first basket today in a game." I was like, "Oh, really? Tell me about it." And my heart sunk. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
uh,
Right. Right.
I missed my kid's first basket. I
Yeah.
remember being on the bus. If Rick was on a trip, I always still sat next to Harry on the team bus. Um, yeah, it was weird how the scene was. I sat next to Jim Lorenz when he was on the plane. It is next to Harry in the plane, but I sat next to him on the bus. Yeah. I remember we're on the bus. It was December, and I said, Harry, my son's birthday today. First time I missed his birthday." And he says, I can't even tell you how many birthdays I've missed through the years. And it was just kind of one of those conversations. It's like, damn, you know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
missing those things. It stings, man. Like I think about
Yeah.
the stuff I missed. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
and still miss,
Yeah. That
like it's like, yeah.
yeah, I mean, even though you're not playing, you're part of that grind. Like you're there, you're on the bus, you're on the plane, you're not doing morning skates, but you're at the morning skate and you're working, right? So
Oh,
it's still hard.
the most useless thing in the world, the morning skate.
Yeah.
I
So
mean,
tell me,
they still do them. Like, what are we
I
doing?
can't believe it. I can't believe they even do them. It's ridiculous. But I remember a story you told me about a morning skate, maybe a West Coast trip in Lindy Ruff.
Oh, oh, what? On what?
You came down into the lobby to go on the bus at a morning skate, and Lindy
Oh,
caught you in a pair of jeans.
oh, yes, yeah. No, that was in. I think that was in Boston. That might have been Boston. And yeah, well, I mean, we used to go on. Um, yeah, we'd ride the bus to the morning skate, and I came down, and I had a pair of jeans on, and I think we lost like 3 in a row, Rich. Like that.
Yeah.
There's a
So Lindy's
pattern.
not in a good mood at this point.
Yeah, there's a pattern. I'm going to tell you another Lindy story about a losing streak. So I get on the bus, and Lindy Lindy says, "You guys don't have a dress code, do you, on the road?" I said, "Well, sounds like we do now." He's like, Yeah, no more jeans. No more jeans on the team bus, morning skate. Okay, no problem. So I had to tell
Yeah,
everybody, like, "Razor,
yeah,
we can't wear jeans anymore." And everybody's like, "What?" I go, "We can't wear jeans anymore." On the Okay, all right. So, we had to start, you know, we didn't have to wear suits to the morning skate, but we couldn't
yeah.
wear, jeans anymore, so that
But
certainly
Lindy's the
changed.
boss, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, like, he and Darcy, sit right in the front there, and what they say goes. I remember Darcy on the plane once, the dress code on the plane, we could wear jeans, and they had to be nice jeans, but you had to wear a collared shirt or a sweater, right? And I remember getting on the bus, or getting on the plane, and it was hot as balls for whatever reason. I mean, the sun is
Yeah.
can I say that on your podcast, Rich? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah, you can, yeah.
I mean, like, the air conditioning wasn't I was so hot. And I took my quarter zip off, and I had a T-shirt on, and Darcy comes by, he's like, "Kevin, you know the rule." I said, "Yeah, it's so hot." He goes, "Doesn't matter, put it on," before because we had to get out they wanted us there before the players. I said, "Alright." I threw it back on.
Yeah,
Rules are rules, right? They're there
yeah,
for a reason.
yeah, yeah,
Can I
and
tell you
you
another
were
can
around
I tell
that.
you another Lin can I tell you another Lindy
Yeah, I
Grumpy
was gonna
story?
just say, you were
Okay.
around Lindy, there's gotta be a ton of things that in that Lindy Ruff era.
So, you can go and YouTube this. There is we did this piece with Drew Stafford. Drew Stafford was awesome, just a great dude, and he was a very creative guy. So I had this idea. I said, "Hey, why don't we do a piece on Drew Stafford celebrating Festivus on the 23rd? Because the NHL would always take a break, 24, 25, 26. We actually, I wanted to say it's 24, 25. There's plenty of times on Boxing Day we'd get in the plane to go somewhere. I said, "So why don't we, do a thing where he's being discriminated against by the NHL because 'cause they're not recognizing his holiday on the 23rd, and we'll have him do feats of strength, the pull." I'm pitching this to Drew, and he's like, "Oh, this would be awesome," right? So, it's like this serious interview, sit-down interview with Drew Stafford, and he I said, I'll write." I wrote a script. He's like, "I'm just gonna ad lib this, Kev." Okay. So I said, "What's really gonna make the piece? We need to get Lindy or Darcy, like just a comment, like from an interview, like, hey, do you think Drew Stafford's being discriminated against by not honoring Festivus, making him play on the 23rd?" I tell our PR guy, I said, "Listen, this is what we're doing. We're gonna." He's like, "Yeah, yeah, we'll get Lindy next week or whatever." We did this Stafford interview like 3 weeks ago. And we need to get Lindy. I'm like, "Hey, we need to get Lindy for this." He's like, we're gonna have to, push it out to this day, whatever. So it's a Tuesday, and it's in December. We're running this thing like on December 20th or whatever. And I go to the PR guy. I said, "Listen, I need to get Lindy today for the piece because we have to edit it tomorrow, and it airs on Thursday." And he's like, "All right, we'll get him after his press conference." So it was, after a practice skate. Now the team hadn't been playing well at the moment. So we bring Lindy's about to go back in the coach's office, still has his skates on his stick. And he's like, "All right, let's do it." I said, "All right, Lindy." So we're rolling. I get the mic. I'm like, "Lindy, do you think Drew Stafford is being discriminated against by the NHL by not recognizing the holiday of Festivus, which is on December 23rd?" And I clicked the mic to him. He goes, "What kind of bullshit question is that, Kevin?" And I said, "Hey," I go, "Lindy, all right, great response. Just let's leave the swear word out." He goes, "No, what the hell kind of beep beep is this?" He's like, I go, "You don't have no idea what we're doing." He's like, "No, what's going on?" I said, "Well, this is kind of a satire piece. So this is a joke." I go, "Yeah, it's kind of a joke." He goes, "This is funny." And I go, "Yeah, people will think it's funny." He's like, "Well, I'm not really in a frickin' joking mood, Kev, because we lost 4 straight games, blah, blah. All right, but roll it again." And, he just goes, "I don't know what kind of stupid question, like, what that is," or whatever he says. And it
Yeah,
really makes
yeah,
I think, makes the piece. You're like, here's a head coach thinking, what is this stupid, ridiculous thing?
Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
actually his real his real response.
Yeah. It's funny, Kev, because I went to Roger Nielsen used to have a
Yeah.
coaching clinic or a symposium in Windsor. And it was, you had to be high school, junior, NHL. You had to be a coach. Anybody couldn't just go. So I was able to go and I sat next to Lindy, and I only knew Lindy from just seeing him on the bench and coaching, but I saw a different side of Lindy Ruff. And he was there and he was teaching defensive zones and defensive coverages and kind of some of the things that he does. But I had a different respect for him. So I hear a lot of former players say he was the toughest, meanest coach they've ever played for. And a lot of guys are scarred by it, but they say there's an asterisk. He's the best coach they ever played for.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
but there's this new Lindy Ruff they talk about now. Now they do these pieces with these players, these goofball pieces for social media. Lindy has to kind of accept it because that's what it is now, right? So
Lindy
he
is
has to be
oh
a different coach.
well, he's had to soften up through the years, which a lot of us do anyways, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Perspective.
Yeah.
Listen, I should have added early in his first year coaching the Sabres. I hosted his radio show on WBEN. He'd come in.
Okay.
This would never happen. He'd come into the studio for an hour on Monday nights, and we would take calls from fans. Like I'd ask him questions, take calls from fans. We'd do it on location at a restaurant or a
Yeah.
bar. Um, and it's his first year as a head coach. So I've
Yeah.
known Lindy, I mean, since '97, all like almost 30 years
Yeah.
doing
Yeah.
that.
And
Yeah,
and
and I
he's
like him
definitely
personally.
changed. Yeah.
But he's got a great sense of humor, always has. He's hard nosed. I'll never forget, playing basketball against him during the lockout, and he's down in there throwing elbows like playing against Kurt Rambis. He's just so competitive, right? And
Yeah.
that's when
Yeah.
they're looking for a coach. When Kevin Adams says, "I'm looking for this guy, that guy," I told friends, I go, "He's hiring Lindy Ruff." And he's like, "What?" I
Yeah.
go, "Yeah, Lindy's the perfect. That's who he's talking about." And he coached
Yeah.
under Lindy. He knows what Lindy can do. He will get these guys to go, and they will hate it
Yeah.
at first,
Yeah.
and they may still hate it. But man, he gets the best out of you. He'll wear on you,
Yeah.
but he gets the best out of you. And look what he's done. I mean,
Yeah.
the
I
proof's in
kind
the
of
pudding.
heard I kind of heard the first half of the season he was tough. But I think I heard something happen behind scenes with some of the players and Lindy, and he's changed. The second half of the season, I think he kind of stepped back and said, "All right, then you guys play." That's what I heard. So
You
that's
know,
all conjecture because you don't know what happens behind closed doors. But from December 8th on, they're
sure.
different.
Well, I'll tell you what Dave Andrewchuk told me many moons ago. Harry Neal and I had a chance to play golf with him. It was his first year being retired, and we were playing golf with Dave, and we were talking about that, that kind of thing, the coach being hard and grinding on. And he goes, "Listen, I went to Torts. This is the year they won the Stanley Cup for the first time when Andrew Chuck was a captain. He's like, I went to
Yes.
Torts
Yep. That's right.
and be like, man, you gotta lighten up a bit on us here. Like, there's these practices, whatever." And he says, Torts said to me, "Well, I'll tell you what, Dave, you tell the boys they play their ass off in the game and work hard, then we won't practice." He's like, you get it done in the games, no morning skates. And so that's what really fueled us. I went to the boys, said, "Listen, guys, I love to play golf. I'd rather do that than come here and do bag skates when we're not playing well. So let's get it done on the ice." They started winning games. Andrew Chuck said he played golf like 80 times that season, and they won
Yeah.
the Stanley Cup. So yeah,
Yep.
it's called accountability, right? And hockey
Yep.
seems like the only sport where it still exists.
Yep. At some point, the players have to play.
Yes.
They have to be accountable for themselves. Yeah.
And what we've known for so long with the Sabres, the talent's there. I mean, come on, you guys are number one. So you have two number one overall picks in that team. It's time to get going here. And you know
Yeah.
what?
Exactly.
Nobody You could be on the worst team in the league. Nobody wants to be kicked off the team, even the worst
No,
team.
that's right. Yeah, that's right. So, Kevin, in 2016, your time comes to an end with Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah. Yep.
How did that transition to the PGA Tour come about?
Well, let me take you back to 2012 real quick. Season
Okay.
ends 2012. I just done these games with Danny Gare and what have you, and my supervisor calls me in and says, "Hey, I got some news. Like you're not going to do games anymore." Um, and I was like, "Okay," and and you're not going to be the host anymore on TV. I was like, "Really?" But we want to start this radio show. A couple hours a day where be year round. We want you to do that. We want to do a coach's TV show. Beyond, so I was going to do all these other shows. So I said, if I were single, I'd tell you to go fly a kite. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
married. So to me, that was the moment. Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I'll do this stuff, but it'll just be a job, and I'm gonna find my off ramp here. Particularly
Was
when
that Hockey Hotline? Was that the Hockey Hotline in the
yes, it
afternoons?
was yeah,
Okay.
I yes, Sabres Hockey Hotline, we did it 10 to noon. The, uh, the other stuff didn't end up happening. Um, I was doing Beyond Blue and Gold, and then all of a sudden I wasn't. And an Emmy that year, I never got mine. Anyways,
Yeah.
so anyway, kind of tells you why I went the direction I did, Rich. So I said, all right,
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to find my off ramp here. Um, and I would look at other play by play jobs and what have you. And I ran into we used to do the show from the store, the Sabre store. And Bill
Yes.
Rosinski walks in the store. Bill's from Buffalo. This guy, I mean, he's been the voice of the Falcons, the Panthers, ESPN college football, NFL national radio, and he did. I've heard him doing golf, and so I had him on the show. And he said, "You want me to come on the show?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "This summer, we're in a lockout. Nobody's talking about it. Like, come on." So he came on the show. We talked about golf and he got done, and I sent him an email after. I said, "Hey, Bill, thanks for coming on the show." And I knew Bill from our time in Charlotte. He was the voice of the Panthers. I worked at the station he used to work at, so I just kind of knew Bill from there. And I said, "Hey, Bill, that golf broadcasting, man, sounds like it's up my alley." I had started Tee to Green back in 2006. Into golf, as you know. You know, I started one of the first golf radio shows in the country back in '98 on WBEN. We called it the 19th hole.
Yep. I
So,
remember that.
anyways,
Yep.
I said, "Bill, if you recommend me, I don't know if you guys ever need a fill in, whatever." He's like, "Yeah, here's the guy's name to reach out to." And I said, "Okay, Rich." I kind of employed the same thing I did with the old internship. I just,
Yep.
you know,
Exactly.
I reached out to the guys like, "Hey, what did you call?" I said, "Well, I've been a Sabres broadcaster, did games. Send me some Sabre games, tapes." I'm like, "Okay." He didn't want to, he didn't want me to fabricate any golf stuff. He's like, just send me Sabre games. And he goes, "Yeah, you know what? You sound good. I don't have anything for you right now." Guys like guys like you call me all the time, but stay in touch. So I stayed in touch. I didn't call him every day, but I would just, I'd be,
The story sounds familiar.
yeah, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yes.
So I stayed in touch and I reach out to him and I get a call from him. This would be 2014. So 2013, summer of 2013, I saw Bill. 2014 January, he goes, "Hey, can you work the Honda Classic here in 3 weeks?" I go, "Yes, I can." So I called in sick. I called in sick, with the Sabres. Yeah, I was just like, "Yeah, I'm sick." Um, and I worked 2 days for him. Very first day, and I've never done this job, and so we used to do this thing, you'd go out and you'd call shots into a camera, and they'd run highlights back, and the very first day, "All right, you gotta cover Tiger today." I go, "Excuse me? I've never done this. I'm calling Tiger Woods?" They're like, "Yeah." Like, "Okay." So I did that job. And my boss says, "Hey, you did a great job. I won't have anything for you until probably fourth quarter." Okay, stay in touch. So I stay in touch, and then he sends me to Las Vegas in the fall. I do that. So I worked 2 events for him, and he says, "Hey, you did a nice job. I won't have anything for you, if anything, till the fourth quarter of 2015." Like, that's how far out he's scheduling. I'm like, "Okay, stay in touch." So I stay in touch, blah 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 blah, blah. And then he's like, "All right, we're gonna put you live on the ground for Vegas and RSM 2015." I'm like, "Okay." So I go, I do Vegas, my first time doing it, and then RSM. And I've never even met the guy in person. We never Zoomed.
Yeah.
But he
And at
drove
this
up.
point, you still work for the Sabres, right?
Yeah, full time, full
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. You're
Um,
just calling in sick every
Full
time.
time. It's funny enough, I didn't have a contract with the Sabres up until 2012, summer 2012.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just worked there.
Yeah.
So I was a contract, and new boss came in, and summer of 2015, I said, we renewed twice, and and listen, it wasn't terrible, Rich. I was working for the hockey
Yeah.
team, right? It just wasn't
Yes.
doing what I
Yeah.
felt I should be doing. Okay,
Right.
that's just me. Whether I was,
Yep.
good enough or not, you be the judge. I had people around the league tell me, whatever, you were good. Like, thank you. So anyway, um, so I re-signed a 1-year deal. I said to my wife, I go, "This is the last deal I'm signing with him. I'm done. I'm going to fulfill this contract, and I'm going to quit." And she's like, "Okay." And this was before I even did those fall events for the
Oh,
tour.
okay. Yep. Yep.
But I just felt like it was trending in the right direction, right? So at the fall, my boss comes up, and our engineer, who's now a dear friend of mine, says to our boss, "Hey, you got to get this guy." He's like, "Oh, he's on the team. He's on the team." I was like, "Okay, great." So in December, he gives me 6 events. He's like, "You're going to work six events next year." I said, "Perfect." I said to my wife, "I got 6 events. I'm going to quit." She's like, "Well, when are you going to quit?" I said, "Well, I got 2 weeks of vacation left. I'll use those 2 for the first 2 events. I'll have 4 left. When those 4 come up, that's when I'm going to go." And so I the guy who was running the ship at the time, I had lunch with him. And at the time I was also doing the Bills Tonight Show on MSG. Like, he actually got me back, and he's like, "We need to get you back on television. Like, you're good on TV." I'm like, "Okay, thanks." So I did the show with Ruben Brown. It was great. So, anyways, I had lunch with him in January. I said, "Hey, do you guys know what your plans are?" He's like, "Well, we're figuring it out." I go, "Well, let me help you out. I'm leaving." And he goes, "You're leaving?" I go, "Yeah, I'm done. I'm not going to resign with." He's like, "Well, we haven't sit on that for a second." I said, "Okay." So then he calls me the next day. He's like, "Okay, so when do you want to be done?" I said, "How about tomorrow?" And he's like, "What?"
Wow.
And I go, "Yeah, I listen. I've got a golf commitment. Oh, I haven't told you, but that's what I'll be using my vacation to do for my next step in life. I'm working golf." And he's like, "Well, listen, let's figure this out." And we had a great conversation, and they came back and said, "Finish the year. We'll let you go. Don't worry about the time or not. Finish the season, and when the season's done, then you're done. And you've been loyal. We'll fulfill the contract." So they paid out my contract. They didn't have to, because I was breaking it and leaving. So the organization was great in that regard. Um, so I went to golf, and it was
Yeah.
some, you know, I worked 6 events, 8
Yeah.
events, 10, and
Yeah.
now I'm up to I work anywhere from 20 to 25 a year, and
Wow.
it's
But
great.
when you
It's
hear
awesome.
people, when people hear PGA Tour radio broadcaster, they might picture the guy in the booth, but that's not really it. It's a hybrid
No,
job for you, isn't it?
yeah. So the job's evolved, because I work for PGA Tour Radio and PGA Tour Live. That's streaming on ESPN Plus. So PGA Tour Radio, I'm on the ground walking between the ropes with the groups,
Yep. Yep.
um, calling shots as they're happening, and people are like, "You call play-by-play for golf?" Yes, we do. So you get some distance, but it's the only sport where you're in the arena calling it, um, which is, I mean, in the field of play. Like, look out,
Yeah,
here comes a ball.
yeah,
You can
yes.
be hit by a ball, like, you can, uh, I'll seed golf balls, help players find balls. I helped Sammy Valimaki. I found his ball in the marsh last fall at the last second of the 3 minutes, and he won by a stroke. After he's like, "I owe you. I don't know what, but I owe you." Things like that. So that's with radio, and it's incredible. Like, in Mexico many years ago at Chapultepec, Rory McIlroy nearly aced the first hole of par 4, and, he taps in for eagle, and I get to sit there and ask him right at the back, "Hey, Rory, what'd you hit there?" He's like, "Oh, it was a
Yeah,
4 iron, Cap." Like, "Okay,
yeah,
awesome." Stuff like that, is
yeah,
incredible. And then
yeah.
the
I
other
know when
part of it.
we
Go ahead.
I like too when we met you up at Waste Management. You get to interview these guys after. Like I saw you interview Phil Mickelson and Ricky Fowler. So like that's got to be pretty awesome.
Oh, yeah. Listen, that's where you get a rapport with these guys. You know what? I'm gonna tell you a cool story. I think this is not. I like watches. All right, I'm a watch.
Yep, yep,
I,
yep.
my Instagram's filled with me looking at watches. I can't afford
Yes,
these
yeah,
watches, but they're watches.
yeah.
Right after it be 2023, Scheffler won the Masters for the first time, and it's a Canadian Open. And he, after his first round, like, he's a Masters champion, one of the big players, and we're outside the media. I'm going to interview him. And before, we get done with the interview. So it's like a 3-question interview with Scotty Scheffler after the round. And I said, "Hey, Scotty, nice piece." I'm looking at his watch. He's got uh, a really nice watch on. And he goes, "Oh, hey, check this out." And he does this. And he hands it to me, right? And he goes, "Look at the
Oh, okay.
back." He goes, "Look at the back." So I flip it over. I look at the back. It says ANGC Champion 2023. I go, "That's pretty cool." He's like, "Yeah, I don't have to give this back, like the jacket." Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
was like,
right. Yeah.
oh, but I'm
Wow.
like, that was awesome. Like, it's just, hey, how excited he was. "Yeah, here, check this out." Like, handing me the watch to look at, like, it's just, stuff like that is cool. Last week I was just in New Orleans, the team event, talking to the guys in the team. Matter of fact, you'll Sabres fans will appreciate this. Team Sweden, Jesper Svensson, um, was with oh God, why am I'm drawing a blank now on his name. But anyway, 2 guys from Pontus Nyholm, right? So 2 guys from
Yeah.
Sweden. I go, Team Sweden. I go, "You guys both played hockey growing up." I said, "Who are you rooting for in the NHL playoffs?" And Svensson says, "Well, I know Pontus is a huge Oilers fan." I was like, "Yeah, we had a rough go." And I said, "You know what? You both failed that answer. Rasmus Dahlin
Yes.
was with the Sabres." And they're like, "Oh, yeah." So,
They blew it.
yeah, I go, "You guys blew it. All right, we're done with this." This is in the interview. Like, stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Um, to
Yeah.
get a good chuckle out of them. So, and
So
then
I know
then the
when
live part, Rich, the live part, I'm in studio. I work with, players, analysts, and we're in a studio. It's kind of like you're in the booth, calling shots or what have you. And one of my colleagues, John Rollins, I was telling you this before we started. He asked me if I wanted to play stadium course today. Like when we came down, I said, "Yeah, Rocket, I'm there." And, because the players can play and, they can bring a guest, whatever.
is this
Oh,
at Sawgrass?
yeah, it's Sawgrass.
Sawgrass. Okay. Yep.
Yeah, TBC Sawgrass. I get delayed. I'm like, "Oh god, like, I was gonna make the tee time. I said, "Rocket, I got delayed. We don't have a pilot." I said, "I'm gonna be like an hour late." He's like, "Don't worry about it. Just they'll run you out." So I and there's a back nine start. We had a meeting too, right? So I was like, "Oh, thank God we're starting the back nine," because I've only played the course once before, but it was at dusk, and we got to 17 in darkness, so you couldn't, it wasn't really playing it. So we get to 17, which would be the 8th hole of the day. I missed the first 2 holes. Um, and the pro tees. And anyways, we get up there and we're trying to figure out the wind. I said, you know what? I'm just gonna. It's 145. I'm gonna buttercut an 8 in there, and it's tracking rich. I mean, it is right at the stick, right at it,
Yeah.
and it ends up 2 feet. And I tap in, but they give you a thing if you make a birdie. I don't know if you can see that. They give you a
Oh,
bag
yeah.
tag with a number 2 on
Yep.
there, and the guy
Yep.
put a little extra on there for me, birdie on
Yep.
17. So
That's right.
that
Yeah.
that was pretty awesome.
Yeah,
I
that's
just wanted to
cool.
share that.
Yeah, that's cool. So, Kev, what does the PGA travel schedule look like, and how does it compare to an NHL grind?
Well, it depends on how you're scheduled. And with, live, it has seemingly been a it's seemingly been a grind this year for me where, like, I started the year in Hawaii. Sounds terrible, right? Bring my older son with me, which is a great trip, but I came back, you know, I'll simplify it. You leave on a Wednesday. Some places you go on Tuesday, but most times you go Wednesday, and then right to the golf course,
Yeah.
scout the course, talk to players, test your equipment, and then you go Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Can't get out
Yeah.
most places, at least back to Buffalo. So leave Monday
Yeah.
morning, and then you back out the next week. So I'm on week 3 of 3 in a row that way.
Yeah.
3 in a row where
Oh,
I'm
wow.
home on Monday, home for a day and a half, back on
Wow.
the plane first thing Wednesday morning. I'll be home the next couple weeks, which I'm excited excited about
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it's
Because
been
how can
that
you get a
way where
homestand? Yeah.
no, yeah, no, it's been, but I mean, it's great, man. The people are great. Your office is nature, on these amazing
Yeah.
golf courses. I work with some
Yeah.
amazing people, and
Yeah.
I love the game. So
Yeah. Of all the big names you interviewed, now, so PGA Tour and PGA Tour Radio. So there's the girl that interviews every guy that comes off the course. I can't remember what her name is.
Amanda Bailey.
They get Yeah, so she's interviewing somebody, then did they come over to you at the PGA radio side and do an interview? Do they have to
Yeah,
do 2?
live television always goes first.
Okay.
And sometimes there's a couple different live televisions, and then we get them. We usually don't get them on the green unless it's a playoff. Um, So if it's a regulation win, that we have to go back to scoring, and get him. But like
Okay.
this year at the Arnold
Gotcha.
Palmer, playoff, I interviewed Akshay Bhatia right after he interviewed with, Cara Banks on the green.
Okay. So who stands out as your best interviewer personality in the PGA Tour?
Best interview.
Yeah,
Wow,
or the yeah.
wow. So, just at any time or
Or let's put it this way,
Ooh,
who do you always enjoy interviewing out of all the golfers?
that's a great question. Um, I'll tell you who I love talking to, Sahith Theegala.
Oh,
He
yeah,
is
yeah.
he's a great kid. So the first time I interviewed him was like this. Instead of, during when they returned to play after COVID, they instead of having proams, they do these things called greenside chats. And I hosted many of them from my home studio. Be like
Yeah.
on a Wednesday. If I wasn't working the tournament that week, it'd be in my home studio. This is before I started doing PJ Tour Live. So it was radio and I do these things. And it'd be like a 1 day gig. Uh, So I viewers would come on, they'd be invited guests. I'd relay questions, they'd type them, I relay them, or I'd just facilitate the conversation for about 20 minutes to a half an hour. And Sahith Theegala was on there for the, Colonial event, and I had never met the guy. I did some research on him, and he couldn't have been a nicer kid. He was awesome.
Yeah.
Forthright. That fall at the Sanderson Farms Championship, he comes up to me, he's like, "You're Kevin, right?" I go, "Yeah." So, "How are you?" He's like, "Yeah, that was a great time on the chat there." And just from
Oh,
that, I've had
yeah.
a great rapport with him. Yeah,
Okay.
a great rapport with him. He just
Yeah.
got engaged over the winter. I'm thrilled for him and his family. He's
Yeah.
fun to watch play,
Yeah,
and,
he sure is.
yeah, he's superb. Matter of fact, I'm gonna tell you a Rory McIlroy story from one of those.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Rory McIlroy The year his daughter was born, like, you may recall, he almost didn't play the tour championship because of, his daughter was born. He showed up on that, Thursday. Well, that Wednesday, I was hosting the chats, and they would be with just, like, 4 people. Like, it was, big sponsors, whatever. And the person who was coordinating this, the producer, reached out to me, like, first week in November. It was like on a Monday, said, "Hey, Rory's made himself available this Thursday to fulfill his obligation. Are you available? It'll just be you, Rory, and, a group from, this business and that business. Be an hour." I go, "Yeah, yeah, of course. I'll do it." So typically on these, Rich, I would jump on, uh, as hosting podcasts this way, you want to be there before your guest. So I would
Yep,
jump on
yep,
like 20 minutes before, make sure everything's working technically, just kind of be in the waiting room. The players would always be on these things like 5 minutes at the earliest, maybe 2 minutes before. Well, I click
yeah.
on Rory's already on it. Rory's just sitting there, like in his den at his house. I go, "Man, Rory, you are here early." He's like, "Yeah, it's okay. It's okay, Kev. You and I can just have a chat." So we just sat there and shot the breeze for about 15
Wow.
minutes.
Yeah.
Just
Wow.
like, you and I'd have a conversation. Like,
Yeah.
it's just one of those. I tell people that, like, come on. I go, I'm telling you, we talked a lot about
Yeah.
Rochester because his wife's from Rochester.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah.
my mom and sister live in Rochester. Like, I was giving
Yeah.
him parenting tips, with a newborn.
Yeah, yeah.
It's,
And Kev, he is the face of the PGA now, right? He is the PGA.
listen, Rory's a worldwide star. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
especially with winning that
Exactly.
second Masters in a row.
Yeah.
You can go anywhere in the world and say Rory, they're gonna know you're saying
Yep.
McIlroy.
No, he's skyrocketed. So
Yeah,
you lived
Scotty
in both
Scheffler's up
worlds
there
now.
too, but
Yep.
Scotty Scheffler's world number 1, but, I think you have to say Scheffler, folks that know, but, like, I think Rory transcends sports now. I think he's in that
It's right up
category.
there with Tiger. Rory and Tiger are
Yes,
2 names that everybody knows, right? Yeah.
for
But
sure.
now you've
Yeah.
lived in both worlds. You've interviewed in both worlds. And I think it's fair to say, historically, NHL players have a reputation of being a little more boring in an interview, buttoned up, very cliched. They don't give you the full answer, maybe even robotic with the media, right? And I think they're told to be that way. How do they compare to a tour player?
Yeah, well, so here's the thing, perhaps the difference, between the 2, the NHL players, most of the time in their interviews are being interviewed by the same people, like beat writers, right?
Yeah, right.
That are going, yeah, they're
Paul
like,
Hamilton and all these guys. Yep.
yeah, who are, they're critical of games, right?
Yeah.
At times, and
Yeah.
so, familiarity breeds contempt, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
So, um, I'd have to remind some guys sometimes, like, "Hey, I'm a friendly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
The same person signs my paycheck assigns yours." And that's the same with the tour, so, and
Yeah.
usually we don't talk to players, um, the only time I'm interviewing players after good rounds. I'm not interviewing players
Yes,
after bad rounds.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So they're in a good mood. That's right.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny that Tiger, we rarely ever get Tiger one-on-one. He would just do, like, one time. So we'd be at the, podium, if you will, they'd have set up,
Yeah.
and they'd give us,
Yeah.
like, first 2 questions. "Kevin, you get the first couple of questions with Tiger at the podium." And I remember Boston, the one time, he totally flubbed a chip, Rich, like, on one hole, and he had a good round, and I'm like, so afterwards, it was probably, I said, "Tiger, please do your round today," blah, blah, blah. I said, "There's really the only one hiccup there on number 9, like, what kinda happened over there?" He's like, "I had a really crappy chip." I said, "That's what I thought, Tiger, but I figured our audience would take it with more credibility coming from you," and he just broke into laughter, like, "Yeah,
Oh my
yeah, you're right."
gosh.
Like, here I'm in to
Yeah.
criticize Tiger Woods hitting a bad chip, but,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
but again,
Well,
it's
Kev, I
usually after good things.
yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm gonna just say I know your passion for golf. I love to play golf with you because I know when I play golf with you, every shot is going to be analyzed. We're going to talk about wind. We're going to talk about green placement and flags, and we're going to talk about every single thing about every shot when you and I play a team event. Kev, one of
And
the
by the
things that I
way,
talk
let me
about,
say this,
yeah,
Rich. You know who doesn't appreciate me analyzing every shot? My wife, who plays now and is passionate about it, and didn't at the time, and she is passionate about it. And so we have. If I play with her, I'd first be like, probably like every husband, hey, do this, do that, do that, so that, and I'd probably do it to my 16-year-old too, to a fault.
yeah,
Um, but so we have a deal now. If she doesn't ask for any advice, I don't say anything. We just play, and then she'll be like, "Okay, all right, I know you're dying to say something." I'm like, "Well, okay, yeah, like you see the
yeah,
danger over there, aim away from the
yeah.
danger."
Yeah, exactly. And we know it's not easy playing with wives because we want to help. Sometimes they want it, sometimes they don't. Most times you just keep quiet. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah. So Kev, the whole premise of my podcast is just about guys that are still playing hockey that make this shift from being, younger guys to playing as older guys. And your career, you took a shift, like a major shift. And that's why I wanted you on because I, I respect the fact that you jumped from one profession to another and you're thriving in it. Um, your story is exactly what my podcast is about. But I wanted to, before I let you go, um, I wanted to hit you with some rapid fire questions.
Okay.
And off the top of your head, I want you to just give me quick answers. All right. So best hockey
Okay.
player you were ever around,
Best hockey player I was ever around. Well, I mean, as a
either
player
interviewed
or
or
well, it's Wayne
in your
Gretzky, right?
career.
It's Wayne
Gretzky.
Gretzky.
Okay. So
Oh,
you
my.
got to, did
Oh,
you call did you call a game?
he no, he was coaching Arizona.
That's
Um,
right. Okay.
but all right,
Funniest player. Yeah.
let me give you a different. So it's Sid Crosby, Sidney Crosby.
Okay. Yeah.
Best
Good.
player, it's Sid Crosby.
Funniest player you've ever come across, either in golf or hockey.
Drew Stafford.
Yeah, Drew is a
Drew
good dude.
Stafford.
Uh, toughest interview you've ever done in hockey.
Oh, after Fredonia lost the national championship, interviewing Coach Jeff Meredith behind the bench.
Okay.
That was the toughest one. That's not an NHL one, but that was the toughest one. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
God. No, I'll tell you that can I the toughest one I ever did was a post game in a Bills Dolphins locker room on a Monday night football game when I was a Bills beat reporter, and Gabe Northern wanted to beat the crap out of me, and I stood my ground.
Ugh,
And John Butler, the GM John Butler, came and pulled me away before it came to blows. I would have been destroyed,
what
by
was
the way.
oh
Six
my
six
gosh.
260.
Um, most memorable game you've called or golf tournament you were between the ropes in?
A golf tournament, uh, Travelers Championship. Ah, God, I forget. It was when Jordan Spieth holed out from the bunker in the playoff. I was standing right there behind the green.
That's right. Okay.
My colleague had the
Best golf
call.
best golf course you've ever played.
Ooh, Pinehurst number 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's nice. I've
What'd you
never
think
played
I was
that
gonna
one.
say?
I was thinking, my mind was thinking, has he ever played the Masters? Has he ever played it?
No.
But that's a
Oh,
tough one to get on, whether you're in the media or not. That's a tough one to get on.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah,
I think Pinehurst number 2 is gonna be surpassed this summer, fingers crossed, but not by anywhere in the United States.
okay, all right. Your dream foursome, dead or alive? If you had to pick four guys or three other guys you could play golf with.
Wow. 3 dead or alive dream foursome. One is gonna be my grandfather. Never
Okay.
met him. Never met him. He passed away a couple weeks after my parents were married from a complication of a medical procedure back in the '60s. And I have a golf trophy of his in my house
Okay.
that was on the
Yeah.
mantle in my grandmother's house. They say you learn everything about playing around a golf with somebody. So my grandfather absolutely would be in that foursome. Um, God, who are the other 2? Holy smokes. The other 2, you know, I guess I'll say, I'll throw my well, see, it's a sentimental one, so I'm gonna throw my
I know.
grandfather in there, but I'm gonna say Arnold Palmer is gonna be in there too
Yep,
because 'cause I'm sure he would have been a fan of Arnold Palmer's.
yep.
Um, and God, who would be the Ben Hogan? Because I just wanna see him hit the center of the club face every single time,
Every
and
single
the
time.
intensity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I'd so
Best
I'd ride in
golfer
the
you
cart with my I'd ride with the cart with my grandfather, and we'd marvel at what Arnie and, Ben Hogan did all
Ben
day.
Hogan are doing. Best golfer you ever interviewed.
Well, it's Tiger Woods. Actually, well, yeah, the argument is Tiger the greatest or Jack? I've interviewed them both, so it's a
Right.
tie.
Okay. It's a tie. Okay. Favorite
Yeah.
city on the PGA Tour schedule?
Favorite city, and, I'm gonna say New Orleans because the char-grilled oysters are amazing, amazing.
Okay.
But
Awesome.
my favorite course in the PGA Tour is Riviera Country Club.
Oh, nice. Okay. And then, Kev, last question. One word to describe your career.
Blessed.
Awesome. Awesome. That's great. Kev, this was awesome. I don't want to take up much more time for you. I know for me, it's 3 hours behind you. Say hello to your wife. I hope the kids are doing fine.
Yeah, everybody's doing great, buddy, and, you know, that's what your podcast, over 50, when you get over that age, you start realizing what matters
Yeah.
most, and, you know, all these things, I think I realized with the shifts, um, this is what I do, it's not who I am, and I think
Yeah.
especially every man needs to
Yeah.
hear that, right? Because we don't
Yeah.
talk about that
Yeah.
enough with each other.
Right.
What you do is not who you are, and
That's
I
right.
think, that's a message I'd like to end with, Rich.
This was amazing. I am always happy to talk to you, but I'm gonna reach out to you. We're gonna talk next week. I'll be down in
Sounds
Florida,
good.
but we'll talk next week. We'll catch up some more on some personal stuff and that kind of thing. Yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening, and then I'll talk to you soon.